This $80 billion proposal for the IRS is insane. It's going to affect those above 400,000, those at 400,000, and everybody else. And if you're a small business owner, it's absolutely going to affect you, as if life in doing your taxes wasn't hard enough. I want to look at some of these numbers so we can go over them so you can understand why I'm thinking like this and why I think it's a horrible idea to give more money to the IRS to do these additional audits, because it's being painted as a picture that they're going to go after the rich who are quote unquote evading taxation. Now, first off, how do you figure out who's evading taxes if you don't know about it? How can you estimate that? That is, to me, very suspect that you can figure out exactly how much revenue. Now, this proposal is saying we spend 80 billion and we're going to bring in 800 billion. So it's basically a 10 times return, kind of rounding the math, but it's about a 10 time return over the next 10 years. So let's go ahead and look at some of these numbers together. And I just want to show you how crazy this thing is. So if we take a look at this 80 billion, so the Congressional Budget Office says that this IRS they're going to fund it by 80 billion more over the next 10 years, about 2022 to 2031 period would increase revenues by approximately 200 billion over those 10 years. Now, that is a really low number. I've heard up to 800 billion, so I don't know where that number is coming from, but it's over the next 10 years. So therefore, we can just do easy math and let's just say, for argument's sake, that this is going to be 8 billion per year in total spending. And there are people on both sides of the both Democrats and Republicans and whatever you want to call people reporting on this stuff, saying that this is enough money, though this isn't enough money, this is a terrible idea, this is a great idea. But the definition that Biden is saying, Biden defines $400,000 a year as wealthy. Great. So I wanted to do some math, so I was just Googling it, and we could just pull rough numbers. A lot of this data, when you're looking at statistics, aren't going to be terribly current, just because that's how a lot of the census stuff works. So $400,000 or more is estimated to be the top 1.8% of income earners. So according to this publication, 6292, there were 154 million tax returns filed in 2019, so approximately 2.8 million people earned over 400,000. So if we just do some math right here and we take a look at 2.8 million, so we'll just draw it out right here, and we want to divide that by $8 billion. So if we do that, interestingly enough, or this 8 billion divided by the 2.8 million, sorry, I had that in reverse, it'll actually come out to be $2,857. So that is the amount that we're going to pay on average to audit every single, they're not going to audit every single one, but that's just a rough math, right? So let's put it in here. So $8 billion, we've got, let's see, we got 1,000, millions, billions. We got our 8 billion divided by 2.800123, and that's going to be our math right there. So it's $2,857. Obviously, they're not going to audit every single individual, but that's ridiculous. That if you just do that math, that just says, wait a second, we're going to spend $2,800 to go ahead and audit each one of these individuals, even if it's a 10 times return. What you got to understand is now each one of these individuals is going to have to go through this audit process, and that is just terribly painful. Especially try calling the IRS for anything. It's terribly painful. Even if you're getting audited, and usually it's by mail. They just mail you. Hey, we think that you owe this, prove us otherwise, and then you got to go ahead and prove it. And trying to fix that with the IRS is like pulling teeth. And if you haven't gone down that road ever, just call the IRS. See how long you're on hold for. Any day of the week, right now, for the last 2 years. They just don't pick up the phone, and even when they do, they don't want to give you any answers. All they do is just literally read off of your return or what's on their screen. They provide no insight, no help. And for the most part, people are trying to pay their fair share in taxes. They're trying to do things correctly, but these audits, they're painting them like they're going to uncover all of this extra money that's magically going to fall from the sky, and it's just not going to happen. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of this other information that I found. So with the White House fights for extra IRS funding, So they're just saying basically that they're going to hire more people and they're going to put in a bigger infrastructure. And that's what I really want to talk about, is the fact that if you think that it's only going to be for 400,000 and up, you're wrong. It's just not going to happen. They're going to put in a system that they're going to generate some more revenue, but then it's going to literally target every single person, because I think they're going to put in some sort of a system to have more oversight. Why do I think this? Because that's what the proposals are showing us, especially with the first proposal, which was a total blunder to say that we're going to audit all those accounts with $600 or more. Now it's up to 10, but who knows if that'll go through. But even in the thought of it, that they're going to audit these accounts, it's just going to cast this net on small businesses, and small businesses in particular, because they said they're not going to look at income if it's a W-2 wage. Now that's going to be really difficult to figure out all the time unless you're going to each one of the payroll providers and somehow coding it so they know that it's W-2 income, or the banks so they know. But regardless, if they're doing that, that means small business owners are going to be scrutinized even further, and it's already a bear. You know, I talked about this before, and I talk about it a lot, that I wish they had legislation to make it so the banks and the credit card companies were required to keep receipts on all of your transactions. Because if you get audited, your credit card statement and your bank statement don't mean anything. It can actually only get you in, as far as I can understand, that can only get you into hot water. If the IRS looks at it, that can only get you in hot water because it doesn't count as a receipt. So you need an actual bona fide receipt, the one that you get at the store. And that ink is garbage. So by the time you get audited, it's all faded, and that's your responsibility. So it's just adding more cost, more burden to you. And I know, because I'm a small business owner, so I have a drawer full of receipts. I keep every single receipt, but they get crumbled up, they get messed up, and the ink fades. So it's just challenging. Yes, there are better ways, but that means more work on your part, which takes away from you going out and earning more money and just, contributing to society. You're just basically sitting here calculating things all day long with thinking that you're going to get audited, and then you don't get audited, and I don't know. It's a complete mess. So let's take a look at these audit numbers too, so we can take a look at them together. So I just pulled this. This is from 2018, and this is from a random website, nolo.com. So we're just assuming that these numbers are all correct. Adjusted gross income, 2% if your adjusted gross income was 0. And the reason that's higher than all of these other below $400,000 incomes is from the EITC. So that is a refundable credit. So they want to make sure that it's the most abused credit is basically what it comes down to. So that is where they should put the focus, not on the audits, on how it is delivered. And they can do that with most of this stuff. Simplify it. Just simplify this stuff. It's so stinking complicated. But even if we take this math down here, and the 6.66%, for those who earn over $10 million, you have a 6.66% chance of getting audited on your 2018 return. That's basically what it's saying right here. So let's take that to our other math that we have here, and we could take our 2.8 and multiply this out and say, you know what, they're not going to audit everybody. They're only going to audit, let's round it up to 7%. So 2.8 million multiplied by 0.07 is 196,000. So 196,000 returns, not dollars, that earn over $400,000. Let's see what that works out to be. So if we take this same math and we work out the 80 billion divided by 196, that's going to work out to $40,816. So that's, I'm skewing the numbers a little bit here because they're obviously going to have systems and other infrastructure rather than just salaries, but it still seems ridiculous that they want funding. And when you're doing this math and they're saying that they're going to go after those who earn $400,000 or more, there's no other way to say that. They're going after them. They're going to spend $40,000, $41,000 on average to do that per person they're quote unquote attacking. It just seems completely ridiculous. It's just if you simplify this stuff, it becomes so much easier. And let's see if we have some other information here. So I pulled this up too. I wanted to see what the average salary is. So from payscale.com says the average IRS salary is $81,000, which is also probably highly skewed too. I don't know how much the individuals, the agents, the IRS agents, when you call in, how much they make, but $81,000 on average, just to kind of give you an idea. So they can almost double their workforce, because I Googled that too. How many IRS workers are there? So according to this from 2019, 75,000. And apparently over the last decade, that's significantly smaller than it was a decade ago. So I don't know. It just seems ridiculous. So by this math, it's almost like they're going to double the IRS. So does that make it any better? No, because even when you wait on hold for an hour with the IRS to get somebody on the phone, the experience is garbage. It's just like 1 in 10 people want to actually help you, even on the professional line. And, you know, if someone from the IRS is actually watching this video, I don't know. It's just not a good experience, not helpful for the most part. And I think everyone I talked to pretty much agrees. I've never spoken to anybody who said they had a good experience working with the IRS, that they were helpful. And here's a breakdown on who pays what. So this is also a huge eye-opener, that the top 1%. So obviously the math is a part of this top percent, which is a huge amount, but it's roughly 1.8% from those numbers that we saw before that are paying a massive amount of the total tax bill, which is also interesting on the other spectrum, because the bottom 50% who are earning less than $43,600, that accounts for 12% of income earned, so our total tax revenue. But from that chart that we looked at before, over, where was it? Over here, that's saying that 2% were under zero. So that's the EITC most likely. And then, you know, less than 0.5% for each one of these income thresholds. So really, I mean, this $80 billion proposal doesn't say that we're gonna go after those under 400,000, but it's clear that they are, especially when you saw the other proposal with the $600 per transaction and then 10,000. I mean, that really should be at like 500,000. And I don't even know like why they're thinking that, like why they thought that was a good idea. And it's just going to increase so much costs and burdens, and it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to affect everybody. I don't see it any other way. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of all of this. Hopefully, just going through this math, I was just trying to show you really how ridiculous this thing is. And if you have a different experience, a different viewpoint, absolutely let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear it. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and leave your comments down at the bottom.